Okay, thank you, everybody. We now have quorum and I will call this meeting to order. I'd first like to recognize that we're holding this meeting on the traditional Sauk Nation territory and which we're very grateful. First order of business, I'd like to approval of the agenda and the two amendments all in one. So we have that from Councillor Pearson. Do we have a seconder? Oh, we don't need, oh yeah, we do need a seconder just yet. And McMath is a seconder on that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thanks very much. The next one is resolve into a committee of the whole. The council resolved into a committee of the whole in discussion community service agreements renewal. We'll have a motion, please. So McMath and Pearson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Thank you. That's unanimous. First order of business is reports, and just to remind everybody, when we come to a resolution today on these reports, it is just a recommendation that has to go back to council. It is not final here. It's just our recommendation goes forward. First order is community service agreements, community service agreement with Sauk Food Bank presentation. Yeah, who's doing that? Come forward, please. Please. Yes. Sorry, my apologies. No, I'm not aware that we were going to have a staff report first.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. We will carry on with a staff report.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Today's report presents the district's community service agreements, which are up for renewal at the end of 2022. The district has reached out to the organizations in September and October of this year and requested that they provide reports to summarize operations for the year and what their future plans were to do if they continued on service agreements. In addition, we asked them to provide an operating budget to kind of give us some intel onto where their funds have been spent, and also relevant financial information like financial statements. I've provided a handout today in addition to the items with the agenda, which includes the current terms of service and the service agreements for each of the organizations. So this is the Schedule A and the summary of Schedule A's, which is before you on your desk there. That just provides some insight to what was provided. So the intention of the terms of service would be what was presented today, and then directed from the committee if you wish staff to add new services or continue the services the same, or if you'd like us to further detail the scope of services from what's presented in the reports from each of the organizations. From today's meeting, we're looking to get direction from the committee and from council on the length of the terms of service. So that's how many years would you like to enter into agreements with these organizations? And then the service fee, so the amounts, if you would like to do status quo or a CPI increase on the current amounts, or provide the organizations what they've asked for. And also any directions to the changes in terms of service, as I previously mentioned. The committee may wish to consider renewing the agreements for 1-year term and consider renewing them again in a year after the strategic priorities of this new council are set. If council has any questions about the report process, I can answer those now. And otherwise, I'll turn it over to the groups for their presentations and be available to answer any questions about the process as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curry. Is there any questions for Mr. Curry? Yeah. Go ahead.
Through the chair.
Yep.
Thank you for your reports and the information we have here. I have a question back to the finance department about considering considering service agreements as a line item. I know that if it does go to a line item, then it lacks the report. Are you allowed to, in general, and this is maybe to staff someone, consider a line item based on a financial report being part of that line item?
To the chair, to Councilor Pearson.
Sorry.
Okay, so your question is can you have a line item that still provides an annual report?
I think my question is more conditional.
Conditional.
So if you were interested in making a line item for 1 or 2 years, conditional in the second year of a suitable financial report, as opposed to lack up. That's my understanding. from our finance director is that if you consider it a line item, you lack the clarity with the financial report from the organization.
That's one of the reasons, or one of the implications of having it as a line item. I think we're trying to transition the line items to becoming service agreements. And for a few different reasons, one, having a length of terms of service, so we know what we're getting for. We're trying to be accountable and transparent with where our funds are going. So that allows us to have some terms with these organizations. That way, we're not just paying a check. And although everyone's doing a lot of great work, but we can't report back when we're asked to provide what those expenses went to. So we could do whatever you guys, whatever council and the committee want to do. I think, however, just for being accountable and transparent, I would suggest we move as many line items to service agreements as possible. And then you could set the criteria for the reporting and the measures you'd like us to gather from those groups for the terms of service.
Thank you. That was a great answer.
Okay, you got your answer. Thank you very much, Mr. Curry. Yeah, Mr. Councilor
through you
Bateman,
to,
you have the floor.
Mr. Curry, you're recommending in terms of 2023 service fee increases at a minimum would be a 6.4% inflationary increase. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, that's the 1 year average of CPI based on Victoria from 1 year prior to October.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Hearing none, then we'll.
Hi, I'm Kim Caldwell-Metzger. I'm from the Souk Food Bank, and I'm always happy to come and talk to you guys about what we're up to. Package, we provide a lot of different services. What you might not know is this year, we've just signed into a service agreement with School District 62. They're going to help with $11,000 towards all our school costs. So we're really happy about that. And we are now officially emergency ready. So we're prepared if there was a natural disaster or anything, that we can look after 10,000 people for a week. And that's water and everything. We have a ministry worker now that comes in our parking lot. So we have 2 workers and they come for about 3 hours, 3 times a month, which has just been invaluable because it gives us, you know, we can help, like here, have help. And they're great about sitting outside. We're a little nervous with all the housing, although we're grateful. It's amazing and it's needed. Affordable doesn't mean low income. So when I look at affordable housing, I have to sort of project that there'll be 1/3 of those people will visit the food bank at least once. I have a video that I brought. We're really like, this is new for us. We don't do tech really well. Thank you to Guided Films. So if we want to play our video, and then I'll get perhaps Roy Anderson and Andy from the Baptist Church to talk a little bit about what we'd like to see coming up. If that's great.
Okay, so I'm screaming that because we have to bop around back and forth to things, it might be a little disjointed for those people at home. But thank you very much. Carry on.
I'd like to ask.
Yeah, well, we'll turn the floor back to you, Miss
I'd like to
Kendall.
ask Roy and perhaps Andy from Baptist Church to come up and we sort of have a plan. If that's okay.
Okay, this is to do with your ask and,
It is.
okay,
It's a big one. Get ready, sir.
okay, who's next, please? And please introduce yourself. So for the record of who you are and who you represent, please.
My name is Andy Shell and I'm the chair of the Board of Deacons at Souk Baptist Church.
Roy Anderson with Anderson General. We're a local construction contractor.
Hey, the floor is yours. Carry on.
You saw from the video that there's obviously a very strong linkage between the food bank and the Souk Baptist Church through Grace Garden. So when we heard that the food bank had this difficulty and the problem with space, we talked among the leadership of the church and we thought, well, we have space. How can we use it? And not space in the sense of within our existing buildings, but we have land. And we mulled over the idea, the concept of can we provide the land for the food bank at a nominal amount, if anything, in a way that would satisfy their needs if they could build a facility. We approached the food bank and their response was, well, enthusiastic is understating it. We know there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. So at this stage, it's really just at the feasibility point where we have to list these questions. It includes everything from design, zoning, building, massive questions. So we don't have all the answers, but we think it's worth carrying on at least through the feasibility part to get answers to these basic questions. Then we'll work on the details.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Yes, every year our company tries to do something within the community social network and support a charity at no cost. We were brought into the project just to talk about it a bit. We're extremely excited to be involved. What we're trying to do is work with the district, work with the two parties, provide the guidance and see if we cannot pull off this project to create a new facility for the food bank on the property of the Baptist Church. We've done some background research on current zoning, this type of stuff. I thought it would be fruitful and I recommended to both Kim and the Baptist Church that we should sit before council, make sure we have the support, see if there's a community desire there before we go sinking a bunch of money into it, because at some point we would obviously have to hire professionals. So that's kind of where we're involved. And our long range goal is obviously to complete the project, work with these folks, and we're prepared to do our portion initially at no cost and hopefully bring the project together at cost as opposed to a profitable construction project. So that's our role. We're excited to be here. We're excited to work with these folks. It's a little bigger than we normally do for our charitable every year. And this might be a 2 or 3 year thing, but we'd really like to go through, and as a member of the community, I would love to see this happen. They have our full support. And yeah, that's why we're here.
Okay, I just remind you that we're really not here prepared to discuss this at this length. What I would suggest you do is and we're very happy with the heads up, first of all, and very pleased with your presentation. But when you get your ducks in a row, or not, maybe not all in a row, but get a little bit more together, then you come to council as a delegation and give us a heads up and, and ask us how we can help and see where it goes. But it seems to me there's a lot of consultation needs to be taking place with the community. And but I'm personally very pleased that we have people stepping up and with the concern of our community, because the video demonstrated very well what a service that the food bank is doing. And not just the food bank, the Baptist Church, the Meals on Wheels, the schools, community association, all of it works hand in hand. So thank you for that presentation. I will ask Miss, I know everybody's first name is tough for me, Mr. Kendall Metzner, to come back again and maybe talk briefly about what we're here today. But
Okay.
I want to thank you, everybody, for that presentation. Good heads up. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, so I would like to redo our service agreement. I want to plant that bug in your guys' ear, just so that you know it's coming.
Okay,
Oh,
so right
Fine.
now I may just interrupt you. You're making a recommendation that we carry on with the service agreement as it stands.
With
With
the increase.
With the increased consumer
Please.
price index. And what would be, I'm gathering from what you said, that you'd be inclined to have a shorter term. And so that
then-
we could renegotiate
Yeah.
it next year or something. So a 1-year term
A
is
one-year
what you're
term.
recommending?
Yes, please.
Okay.
thank
Okay,
you all.
I'm gonna ask the council for questions now. So stay right where you are. They have questions for you. So anybody from council has some questions? Maybe not. Okay,
Yeah. I'm gonna make a couple of comments in the beginning. So when I hear a presentation that has some exciting stuff in the background, it's good. It's wonderful to see, the construction industry partnering with the church. Sounds exciting to me. The good work that you do in our community doesn't go unnoticed by lots and lots of people. So thank you for the good work that you do in our community. I will be supporting the recommendation going forward. So thank you.
Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation and exciting to hear this new development, early days. And I'm curious about the comments around the addition of the new BC housing projects, which will both be online, I think, by the end of next year. So there are 250 units. So you're looking at about 75 new families at a 30% ratio. And that 75 new families, from what I can tell here from your 2021 annual report, you currently help 133 adults and 56 children weekly. So that's going to be a significant. Do you know what your cost is per individual for a year's worth of campers?
Do you know what? I don't. I know if Mike Thomas was here, he could tell us
yes.
exactly what they are. I know I have to raise a lot of money
Yeah.
every year. I'm really busy.
So I can imagine when you come to renew your service agreement next year, you'll have a good sense of how many.
I
of
think,
these-
yeah, well, because I would imagine that those should all be full by in a year.
Yeah,
So then we're really gonna have a good idea.
okay.
And I think with the shelter, then their construction being done and, everybody kind of we'll really have a good idea.
Yeah.
And we'll be further ahead with this, so I can come in and ask for just oodles of money, oodles.
Yeah, you can ask for
I
oodles
know.
anytime.
Yeah,
Okay.
and good to see how many funding sources you do already access.
Oh, if
right? So,
they're offering, if they dangle it, I'll try. I'll give it, I'll
Yeah.
try.
Thank you for your volunteer work.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions from council? Hearing none, as being in that building nearly every day and see what goes on with all these organizations and yourself. My hat's off to all your hardworking people. And I know it goes a lot further than just the people you see down there. In order to make this work in our community, which we're famous for, is a lot of people are pulling together to make sure that these people do not go hungry. So thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
And now we'll get to debating your ask.
Excellent. Thank you.
So just to reiterate, the request is for 27,132 on a 1-year service agreement. Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, I'd like to move that the committee of the whole recommend council direct staff to enter into a new service agreement with the Soup Food Bank with the term of January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. And a fee for service of, what is that amount? 27,132.
And council of the whole, we do not need a seconder. That motion is made, and any discussion to the motion? Councillor McMahon.
I just wanted clarity for this. Are we gonna do this line by line after each presentation, or are we going to have all the presentations and then make our choices.
We are going line by line. And the reason for that is that the people here do not have to wait until the entire thing before they leave and do other business. Ms. Machada, you had a hand up?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We actually need to have a public input portion for this as well
Ah.
before council considers the resolution.
I will ask for public input. Thank you. Yes, come forward and state your name and come up, press the button. Yes, I do. We have to record it.
Okay,
Okay,
so
Mary?
I'm Mary Dunn from Sioux Region Communities Health Network, and I just want to acknowledge the amount of work the food bank does. When COVID struck, we opened the homeless shelter up at Sea Park. It was done very quickly, and we were really scrambling to get resources, and Kim was one of the first people to come forward to us and offer support in terms of the food to help feed the residents while they were there. So, you know, very community oriented and just willing to help out in any way.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Any other public comments? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor. Any council have any other comments before I call? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor, raise their hand. That's unanimous. Thank you very much from the food bank and all those people that spoke today. And have a wonderful day. Appreciate you very much. Okay, the next order of business is the Sioux Regional Community Health Initiative presentation. Oh, you're there. Very good. Please state your name and I'll need your name first, please. Okay.
Yes, hello, Christine Bossy, Executive Director of Sioux Region Communities Health Network. Here today to talk about the desire to renew our service agreement and hopefully get an increase. So with this first slide, you see there's two paths going, it's fork in a road. We feel we're a bit at the fork in the road. So we hope that the District of Sioux will help us in getting that wider path rather than the narrower one, which is harder to navigate. Next. So our achievements during these 5 years that we have had a service agreement with you, we've had 5 community consultations, including several forums, including seniors managing at home, youth activities, homelessness, food security, and presently doing the mental health, substance use and addictions report, which the District of Sioux has contributed to financially. We are facilitating or participating in numerous social health networks representing this region, also Ireland-wide and provincially wide. We have a seasonal tax clinic. We have seniors non-medical support services that include the Better at Home, housekeeping, gardening, social visits, and grocery shopping. And we also have seniors activities because there is no senior center in our community. So we have these online seniors activities as well as in person. Sioux Region Lifelong Learning is one of them. Senior Center Without Walls, providing informational resources to community, arts and crafts, and chair exercises, which is actually very popular at the library. We also have a Sikh Women's Cancer Group. We have the Volunteer and Resource Center where we try to help people from the community navigate the system, which is not always so easy. Mary mentioned the COVID shelter that was run from June 2020 and now has been handed over to Sioux Shelter, which they are managing very well. And Sioux Elders Complex, concluding the Sioux Gathering Place planning is ongoing, as well as a Sioux Region Community Health Center with urgent care. So very, very busy. Next slide. So through all these consultations, including the 2 consultations done by the district, or reports rather, where they looked at the actual housing issues and economic situation in our community, these are very strong community needs that have shown up. Now, I'm not going to go into very much detail into each. There are reports on these and they can be found on our website and on the district's website. However, Searchin is moving ahead to address a few of these. Next. So our main objectives, we just had finished our strategic planning for the next 3 years. So we have looked at these main objectives, very broad. There's a lot involved in them, but I won't go into that now, but I will go into some areas that I think are relevant to this application. So improving health services, a community health center. Now, community health centers integrate team-based primary care with health promotion programs, community health initiatives, and social services. This reduces silos and makes services more accessible to the community members. And in a community health center, we would like to see urgent care facility, primary health care, mental health and addiction services, health promotion, nutritional counseling, and cultural safety supports. When we do the questions, then Mary Dunn will provide more information on this area if there's more required. Aging in place with grace. It's not enough just to age, but that you're able to function in your community and to be able to have a long life and a healthy life as long as possible. We have not had a community, a senior center for over 10 years. So we would like to have a combined elders complex with 79 affordable rental units, including shelter rate units at $370. That's the present rate anyway. And then a senior center, Suit Gathering Place, where you have also intergenerational activities, information, support, meals, you know, where everyone can meet and get support, as well as have socialization, which is very important as one ages. There's also suggestion of having a community bathing program, which is very important for our community, and adult daycare. Yeah. Oops, no, back. There we go. In kind. So we heard from our previous speaker, there's a lot of volunteerism involved in operations in the nonprofit world. During this time, we do believe we have strengthened the community and with our services, and a lot of volunteer hours are behind that, including grants and money that has been brought into the community through that. We have estimated our board volunteer hours during this time to be around $150,000. Much of it going towards the COVID shelter, planning of the elders complex, and now this community health center as well. Volunteer hours with our programming support services around $135,000 worth. And the funding that we've attained is $1.8 million for this community. Most of it has gone to managing the COVID shelter during that time though. So Search started out as a network of organizations coordinating services, identifying gaps and needs. But with time, we took on service provision because it was very hard to get service provision past the curves. It's very hard to, once they come here, they stay here for maybe a little bit of a while, then they leave again if they're located in Victoria and Langford. So we do feel that we sort of pitch in and take and try to support where we can. And we have been predominantly within the senior sector because exactly there are no seniors organizations and supports in that area. And we just noticed that as the needs grow, we do coordinate with other organizations because we don't want to replace. We support those organizations that are existing, but then exactly filling in where there are no existing services. So it does take a lot of coordination. It does take a lot of effort interacting with other organizations, coordinating with other organizations and coming up with plans, and then trying to get that funding and staffing to support that. So all we've seen is that the needs are increasing, unfortunately, and of course, then our efforts need to increase accordingly. So the present funds that we have received from the district helps with some staff wages and operational expenses for which we are very much grateful. However, to organize all these important and pressing issues that we have mentioned, resources are required. I remember when I was working with a national nonprofit organization and I was briefed on how the federal government worked very closely with nonprofits because they felt that they got a return of investment between 1 and 3. So every input they put into a nonprofit organization, they got threefolded return. They felt they got bang for the buck. We hope certainly that you do as well in your end. Therefore, if council agrees to renew our contract, Search would like to request a raise of funds and the next round of service agreements. Thank you.
And again, were you looking for 1, 3, 5 years? You said in your paperwork 5 years. That's what you're looking for? Thank you. I'm gonna ask for public input and then I'll come to council. Anybody from the public like to make some comments or? Hearing none, council?
Jump in.
Is that Councillor Bateman? Would you like the floor? You
Sure.
certainly may.
So I'm curious, you're seeking to double your, and I believe this requested funding will go to staffing and operations since you can't get that kind of funding through conventional grants.
Indeed, it's very hard to get funding, continuous funding, especially for actual staffing in office
Hmm.
and running. So we can get we're good at getting grants for programs. And then the coordinator and the program staff are included in that. But usually you only get a 10% cut for admin. So it's to be able to have some sense of sustainability going forward, that we don't have to go on these 1-year annual grants that we don't know if we get from year to year, if we can actually continue with things and keep open and so forth. So we have relied heavily on District of Sisseq funding for that, and we've been very grateful for that. But indeed, prices have gone up, everything's going up, and we need more staffing because our programs are exploding. And which, yeah. Thank you.
So when I look in your statement of revenues and expenditures on page 47 of the agenda, I see program coordinator fee of 32,000.
Yeah.
And that would be you.
Nope.
No, okay. And then I also see.
Well, yes, that actually is me.
That is you.
I think that is
Okay.
me, actually.
And then there's salaries and wages at 46,000. So could
Okay.
you give me a quick overview of your current staffing scenario?
So actually, we have a programs manager, so that's probably the 32,000, and then I am the executive director. So we are 2 people right now. We do have a person on maternity leave who will return in May. And we do foresee to have expand the information and resource bureau as well. We've applied for funding around that, but the funding for that is rather limited. And we, as I say, we want to keep it open, not just for the 1 year, but for the future as well. So I am part-time while the program manager is, what is it? I think it's 28 hours a week.
So would you be able to provide us with how this extra money would be spent in 2023 for year 1?
Yes.
Yeah, because I don't think that's in your report.
Well, it does also look at, if you look at office as well, that would contribute to it. So, the
Right.
thing is bits and pieces, right?
Yeah,
So we get some money from Island Health that does also support my salary.
Hmm.
And then we have a Better at Home program as program manager, but then we also have the bookkeeper, and also as things are growing, there's going to be more hours for each thing as
yes.
well. So that's the thing. As you grow, unfortunately, all this back end stuff needs to grow with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And finally, so you're now located at the Knox Center.
That's
right?
correct.
With office space there.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bateman. Any other questions from council? Hearing none, I just want to make us not so much a question, but I think it's pretty evident in our thing that in our past, that the amounts of our service agreements have been covered in the previous contingency, but anything over and above now, we have to go to the taxpayer. So, a $25,000 lift is a 1/4, 1% tax increase for this next year. So that's a very big consideration for us because I know it's a tough time for you. But it's also a tough time for our residents that have to pay the taxes. So with that, as there's no other thing, I'll entertain a motion. Councillor St. Pierre, did you have a question or did you have okay, go ahead.
Just quite curious as to whether or not you have an understanding of how other local governments deal with these particular services. Is it the norm for local government to basically provide services to seniors and so on and so forth?
Actually, we are one of the few communities in BC that doesn't have a senior center that is paid for by the district or the municipality. So we are actually helping you in reducing that amount. So I would say it's an investment on your part to help us to put this together. But as I said, Souk is one of the few that has not done that piece of the puzzle, as other communities has.
Go ahead, Councillor St. Pierre.
As a follow-up question, Councillor Lejeunesse and myself attended a session this morning on affordable housing, and one of the interesting statistics was dollars spent on affordable housing, at least with urban First Nations, netted returns of 740%.
Hmm.
So money invested. Do you have any support in terms of the money that the district might be investing in terms of money that we'd actually be recuperating or saving?
Well, I think we can probably find a calculation for you because it would be locally. But the thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, on the government, whether it's federal or municipal, they do see, and by contributing some dollars, they get a lot in return. And let's also not forget that without these affordable housing, because this has been actually identified in the District of Souk's own reports that this is required. We have stepped forward because no one else has. It's not that we want to take on more work. It's just that, as I said, there is a reluctance to take on these tasks. And this needs to be done. The longer you wait, the worse it gets. So, without having the connection between the seniors, without them knowing where to go to for resources, without them having the housing, without them having irregular meals every day, which we plan with this center, there's going to be a lot of lonely seniors living in their little spaces, and they don't know how to get out of, and we're going to have much more chronic illness due to that effect. So this is a preventative measure that is important, and we need to do, and it should have been done before, if I may say. So, now is the time. We need to do this.
Okay, Councillor Pearson.
Thank you for your presentation, and I'm currently looking after elder parents, 88 and 90, and they are shut in, and I'm to access services to them. I go through VHA, I go through their catalog, I make a phone call, I might get a phone call back, I might not, and I could tell you, and maybe it's a bad example, but something as simple as foot care and getting toenails trimmed on somebody who doesn't do it takes weeks and weeks and weeks, and sometimes months. And you book an appointment, and then that person, with COVID and things, so it's very complicated. And when I say complicated, it's cumbersome. And I look forward to it being more successful in our own community as a phoning into the 519-5300 number, which I'm familiar with now. So I will be supporting funding. I'm just not sure about our whole budget thing right now. So, but I will be supporting funding for your initiative, and thank you for the good work that you're doing and bringing it to us in a way that says, you know what, you got to get on it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other council? Second time, Councillor Bateman?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I'm in support of obviously funding at the current level, and I would, given the heavy lifting that this group does for Souk, I would very strongly suggest an increase. However, until I see how you would spend that money, I don't know how to move forward without that information.
May I ask what the deadline would be, or how I would communicate that?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not entirely sure, like, this is a council of the whole, and it has to come back to the regular council meetings for a decision. I suspect the council can I'll go to our staff person. Ms. Machada, could you help me out here?
I just wanted to let you know that it is currently scheduled to be resolved by council today. Because once we finish Cal, we go back into our special meeting where council can approve these. But I guess I would defer to finance staff as to what the timing would be for that. I guess this could potentially come back to the December 12th meeting, but it kind of needs to be in by Wednesday morning, I would say at the latest.
So I'll come back to our staff for Mr. Curry. Could you comment on that, please?
Sure, if further information was required today, we can turn around a report and add the information. If you wanted to delay the decisions today to that next council meeting, we could have it in this week.
What's the wish of council? If I could have some feedback, please.
I would be prepared to make a motion to continue on with the existing contract, the amount of funding in the existing contract with the option of increase, I mean, with the cost of living increase. With more clarity, with the option of more clarity, increasing that amount. Are we allowed to do that? That's kind of an
I'm
ambiguous.
going to check with her corporate
That's pretty
staff.
ambiguous, but
Ms. Machada, would something like that work? We get through the business or renewing their contract for 1 year with the cost of living increase, with the possibility of upping it at the next council meeting. Making you work today.
But I think I need to defer to finance staff because I think that's a budget issue. With respect to the motion, I think that's okay, and that would give direction to the finance staff to proceed with the 25,914 for whatever term it's decided upon, but I would leave that to finance because to answer the budget piece.
Finance, I'll come back to you now, Mr. Curry. That